Good afternoon, good evening, possibly good morning to some of you way out yonder. This is John Hoppe. You're listening to the Wrestling Fans Incite. I'm joined by my co-host, Bryan the Hype Ballard. How are you, buddy?
Good. One of these times I'm going to say good night and just log off. When you say good afternoon, good evening, I'm just going to say good night and, we'll do the whole bit.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that feel that way right now. Like, get these bozos off our YouTube right now. What the hell are they doing here?
Beware the Ides of March. We're going to be cursed this month.
No pun intended. You'll find out why. And we also have William with us. William, how are you?
I'm on the mend. I got super severe sick. You know me. I actually ended up in the doctor's office for flu, and I don't typically do that, but I'm doing better now.
Good. Because, I put this new desk in here for us, and you've yet to be here for it, so...
I really doubt that you want to get this crap.
No, I would like to avoid it as much as I can, but I could use a couple sick days from work. What the hell?
This one turned into 5 days off.
Yikes. That's not good. But anyways, hope you all having a good afternoon. I've had a crappy one, thanks to the mammoth choking. Ugh. Especially to the Blackhawks. What the hell, guys? But nonetheless, hopefully it gets better. But yeah, we've had quite the interesting week in wrestling. William, even though we didn't have it on our planned topic, we had quite a bit on NXT this week, didn't we?
Yeah, there's quite a bit. It's going the way that we're looking for it. I'm glad that they're going with Ricky Saints to challenge Joe Hendry. They still haven't fully broken up Zarya and Sol Ruka, which they kind of need to get in gear on that.
Actually, they did.
Did they?
Yep. Zarya actually costed Sol Ruka the championship opportunity.
That must have been when I went to the bathroom.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't a very long match. Zarya attacked Sol Ruka just before the bell rang, speared her F5. Bell rang, JC Jane throws the punch, knocks the Sol out, and gets the 1-2-3. It was like no more than maybe 10-second match.
I still really like what they're doing right now. They're doing a good balance of the female matches, male matches, and I think they're going the right course because they're about to just kind of off some of the roster to full-time going to the main.
And also, we have new NXT Tag Team Champions. The Vanity Project ends up defeating Dark State thanks to a little bit of help from Tony D'Angelo there. And, the thing I'm starting to really love again with NXT is some of the unpredictability, like you mentioned, Will. They're starting to think a little more outside the box and take chances with other talent. And I really think this is going to help keep NXT with the eyes on them for a while.
Yeah, I see good things coming with NXT as long as they just keep their foot on the gas.
Yeah, really be interesting to see what they do with Zarya because now the rumors are Sol Ruka might be going to main roster here. So yeah, there's lots going on, and this is where we've even heard from Stampede many a times from the X Spaces. All it takes is for you to miss 1 day, 1 week. You've missed a lot. So if you haven't been watching, get caught up, stay on top of it because, man, everything goes by fast with the world of wrestling today. But moving forward, hey, guys, we got quite a bit going. For those of you tuning in, thank you for joining us. We're live on the wfincitepod and the FOPW network, Fans of Pro Wrestling Network, that is. And we're also on the YouTube with our @Wrestling Fans Incite channel. Again, thanks again for tuning in and watching us. But, hey, let's go ahead and get going with the show today, guys. We got a lot to unpack. And first off, I think we really need to start with the serious talk because, this shit with the IWC is getting really old. It's unneeded. Mistakes happen, guys, all the time, especially with, wrestling performances. And don't give us this, oh, well, they should be better because they're on TV or they've had all this time to train. you know what? It can happen to anybody. Wrestlers are real people. And it comes down to like this week where Harley Cameron of AEW had pretty much enough of the online harassment with the oopsie that happened on Dynamite. It went to as far as deactivating her account. She wouldn't stop being harassed by the toxic IWC. Folks, mistakes happen. You're no experts. Get off your soapbox. And unless you're going to be out there performing, shut the hell up. STFU. But Brian, I notice you want to throw in a tie in there too.
Yeah. It even goes beyond that, right? Because, the fans, they look for interactions. One of the things unfortunately happened this week also was a different kind of harassment. One of the ECW legends, Missy Hyatt, actually had her account taken over. So her Missy Hyatt account is no longer belonging to her on Twitter X. And that account, if you guys get messages from that account, we encourage you guys to report and block it. That is actually, Missy Hyatt actually did make a video about this, and she has now recreated a new account, and it's real Missy Hyatt on Twitter X. So again, that's real Missy Hyatt. Unfortunately, somebody got a hold of the account, and all her followers now think that is her messaging people and trying to scam them out of money, scam them out of, and it's not just one scam. They're trying to trick them in different avenues. They're trying to get them to go on and vote for, Spotify votes and things like that. They're trying to get them to go on and do crypto stuff. So Missy did make a video confirming that, and that she does have that new account. So just a different kind of harassment that does happen out there. Be careful when you get messages. In this case, it's very dangerous because it is coming from an actual real account that was taken over. And unfortunately, Missy's not going to get that account back. And she was forced to hit a reboot and start a new account. But again, just types of harassment. So always protect yourself, always be mindful. But I wanted to tie that into harassment, not necessarily from the IWC. We don't know who was behind that one, but just another type of toxicity that all these professionals have to maintain. And they always have to, if they're always shy interacting with you guys and being protective, that's why, because things like this could happen. So.
And I want to throw some things out there too, Brian. Being someone who's always kind of been tech related in a lot of the things I do and always about security, I can't always say everything's ever 100% security proof, but I'm going to give some tips. I kind of feel like those engagement farmers, as I used to be one on the X, but I'm going to give you some tips real quick. Complex passwords. I know people don't like doing complex passwords because sometimes you'll create one, you'll forget what it was you did. Write it down. Keep it in a secure spot. Have something around to remind you especially if you change your password, it doesn't hurt to write it down. Put it in a hiding spot. Make sure you just remember where that spot is so you can log in. But the other thing I also want to mention, two-factor authentication. I can never tell you how much of a big advocate I am of two-factor authentication. It really does go a long way. You can either do it through a text on your phone, a code to your email. Hell, you can even do it now with Google Authenticator or some other type of authenticating tool or service out there. So please secure your accounts, folks. And when you get DMs, if you ever see "please vote for me" or "I need a favor" or "hey," don't respond. Delete that DM right away. Don't open it. Anyways.
Yep. Hoppe Brothers World's Greatest Tag Team is a great password. Just saying.
Or "I love ice cream," or what was it in the movie War Games? Pencil. So, yeah, it's really frustrating to see this happen, but for the most part, be better, IWC. I mean, for crying out loud, there's no reason to be nasty toward talent. There's no reason to harass them. And by the way, just remember your favorite talent that you do support and they see you doing this. Chances are your ass is getting blocked and they're not going to want anything to do with you. And then you wonder why. So anyways, now that we got that little part of drama over with, we're just before we get into the Elimination Chamber results, we've all been wondering what the hell was in that crate. To many people, they always think of Jericho, but apparently nobody. I guess the majority of the IWC wasn't paying attention because flat out there was many rumors debunked on that, saying Jericho's time at AEW is extended, therefore he couldn't make an appearance on on WWE if he tried. So what was the next best guess? And I think Carlos and quite a bit of some of the really smart IWC fans got it right. But Danhausen comes out of that box. He makes his debut. Very nice, very evil. And unfortunately, it kind of got some mixed, weird messages there with the IWC. You know, at first, you could hear the audience cheering. And then as soon as the lights out after the performance, you hear some booing. And after taking some time, because at first I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute, that crowd reaction at the end, I could also kind of get some of the point that some of the people who saw it differently saying, well, they were probably really just booing because the lights went out and nothing else happened. And I can understand that argument. That could be a very valid argument because, yeah, if you listen at first, Danhausen was getting cheered, but then it just kind of went away and felt dead. But I really don't know because I wasn't there at is it the United Center there? Is that right, Brian?
I believe that's correct. Yes.
Okay. If I got it wrong, I'm sorry, Chicago. Please don't come after me. The Bulls still reign over the Jazz. Thank you. But yeah, this is kind of interesting because Brian, as you and I were talking before we went on the air here, you know, there's people that are fans of Danhausen and people that aren't. And I'm kind of interested in hear your take on this since you're one of those that's not quite into it.
Yeah. You know, I'll be the first to admit I'm not the biggest Danhausen fan, right? Nothing against the guy. I don't know him, right? One of the, you know, things will always catch on with some people and some of the acts will not catch on with others, right? And you know, Will said it best, you know, comedy is very subjective. He said it best, you know, prior to us airing. But, you know, for me, it just never really caught on. I've watched it, and you know, with the casual WWE audience, you got to remember, like, this audience and this group, they don't really know anything about this character or this guy. And I think it was a very dangerous way to debut a character like this to an unknown eye. I think the WWE would have been very wise to look at a different way to debut a character like this. I think, you know, a days of vignettes would have been very smart to utilize, you know, and to like slowly tell a story, kind of like Wyatt 6, you know, kind of like what they did with that, and maybe not grow it over a year like that, but to slowly grow this in a way to where we start seeing it. And with a character this unique, with a lot of kind of craziness that he brings, you know, you just don't throw somebody in the deep end like that. You know, a lot of people will casually say, well, wow, it's not even Halloween Havoc or Trick or Treat, right? And they'll see it, or they'll say it's Temu Sting, right? Like right off the bat, that's what they'll look at and they'll say. So I think a vignette would have served him correctly in helping people slow drip before the coffee cup gets filled, just to that way they can sip that first taste of Danhausen and they can actually say, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I understand what he's a little bit about, instead of just throwing him in the deep end. For me, you know, I see him as he is going to be the mid-card act. You know, a lot of people are anticipating some R-Truth work. You know, I am a big fan of R-Truth. I like R-Truth's work. You know, I do like that style. It would be interesting to kind of see what he does with him, just because I believe that much in R-Truth as a performer. I do believe that WWE looks at him and they see him strictly as a merchandise seller. They know, I'm not trying to be mean, but they look at him as a big bag of t-shirts and a jar of teeth, right? That's what they see in him. They say, we're going to sell t-shirts and we're going to sell jars of teeth at Halloween or Christmas, you know, and give them to kids. Heck, maybe we can give a manager and use an NXT talent and we can, you know, bring another talent up from NXT and call her the Tooth Fairy. And now we can sell a Tooth Fairy wand with a jar of teeth. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up here. But ultimately, it is going to take, you know, kind of a unique way to do this. I am going to be interested to see what they do with the storytelling. I think it could have used some storytelling here. People were expecting something that they already knew coming out of the box, or something that was going to develop a story along. And we didn't really get that. I was kind of anticipating a puzzle box to come out of this box, or something that would have unveiled leading into WrestleMania. I was expecting, like, you have to solve different clues that would have, undid certain videos in the box that would have, done those vignettes. I would have expected something like that. I didn't really necessarily buy into the Jericho. If I did, Jericho could have came out and smacked somebody right over the head, right? It would have gotten the world's hugest pop, right? Because obviously everybody knows Jericho, and he was already established in WWE. So that's kind of my overall take. I'll be interested to see what people will react. But of course, it doesn't really move the needle for me personally, but it doesn't mean it won't sell any merchandise or meet the WWE goal. So I'm kind of interested to see, you guys on the other end of it. So what do you guys have?
So I want, just before we do get started, there's a question I kind of want to throw out there now that you were mentioning about, timing and placement is everything when it comes to debuts. And we all know that from, watching wrestling as long as we have. Do you think if the cards were able to be played, because we don't know how, we don't know much about when contracts expired and all that, because obviously I didn't dig that deep into it before Danhausen came over, but if it was possible, do you think the Royal Rumble possibly would have been a better spot for him to be kind of like a mystery entry?
It could have been, but to be honest, I think I think the fans wouldn't have been as let down with the buildup with the box, right?
Well, let's take the box out of context.
Taking the box out of it, I think it would have gotten a NXT, or excuse me, a TNA like pop, where the fans of TNA, in this case, the fans of AEW, would know who he is. Appearing at the Rumble wouldn't have been as shocking or a letdown, right? But since that box came into play, they were expecting something like a Christmas gift, right? And it's like you were expecting the Nintendo Entertainment System at Christmas, or whatever cool toy, right? And then you didn't get that toy for Christmas from your parents, and you were like, oh, I got socks. Okay, thank you. And that's what you have to say to be polite, right? And so that's kind of what I think happened. And I think that box might have been his doom, honestly, upon arrival. So I think it is a good point you're bringing up, John. I think the Rumble probably would have been a more calm interaction, but I don't think the WWE is focusing on the Rumble as much anymore. The last 2 years has proven Elimination Chamber doesn't sell as many tickets. So they say, hey, we got to have something big for Chamber. And they did that last year with the John Cena turn, right? And they really made that a main focus. And I think we're going to see that more in the future too.
All right. William, let's get your thoughts with Danhausen coming into play now.
Oh, you want to hear this? So I agree with a lot of what both of you have said about it. Not really the greatest spot to have done this. And like Bryan and I were talking about, he asked me about this. For me, comedy does have its place. I did not like Danhausen at first. You already know that I didn't. He grew on me in the AEW. So I do look forward to seeing how they played. I think it's going to bring a little bit of change. But I will tell you what my reaction was. I absolutely died laughing so hard that my girl came in and checked on me.
Actually, Will, I want to ask a question, because I know you do you had a journey of a roadmap to liking Danhausen like you didn't at first. What would you tell the fans listening that are new to this? Like, what's the roadmap to starting to enjoy his unique style? Because it's a unique style of wrestling and a unique character. Like, what should
the roadmap for, I would say, would be to just kind of clear your mind, reset. Do not put any kind of previous thought into it. Watch what he does, watch his interactions, and try to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, it's not for you. It's not a big deal.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think where we always promoted, today's wrestling is like a buffet table. There's going to always be things you like and things you don't like, and that's okay. You don't have to have everything on your plate to like, right? And so there's people that sure they don't want a scoop of Danhausen. There's some people that want a whole plate full of Danhausen. And I think it's just one of those things where if you're interested, just take it in a little bit at a time, and then I think you'll get the hang of it. I first I didn't know anything about Danhausen until, I believe it or not. And Carlos, go screw yourself, you bad monkey, because I am bringing up the Jericho Cruise. So, you know what? Yeah, I didn't know much about Danhausen. That was the first time I saw him was on a Jericho Cruise, and I had no idea how to take him because it always looked so weird what he was dressing up on the ship and exposing himself around people. I don't mean that bad expose yourself, by the way, folks. I'm talking like the way he is dressing and everything. So it was weird because I think one of the photo ops, he was like in a bath suit or something. It was weird with a shower cap on top of his head. It was just interesting. But when we got into one of the comedy shows of the night, Danhausen was the one that was introducing everybody, and when you could finally understood what he was about, it is mostly the comedy aspect and for show. And I think, like you mentioned, Brian and Will, there's always a spot for comedy in wrestling. I think Danhausen's going to be one of those. Kind of the guy that carries it on for R-Truth, as R-Truth has been doing it for the WWE for years. And it's kind of like a new transition for the comedy part. I mean, we always had Santina Marella, we had Owen Hart at sometimes, but you had to really catch Owen when he was doing the things. But R-Truth, his magic of wonders with comedy just blows your mind. I think if you can give it an open mind, Danhausen will give you some of that joy of the comedy relief in wrestling. Is he going to be taken as a serious competitor? No, but I'm happy for Danhausen because I became a fan of his after the Jericho Cruise, after I watched so much YouTube on him there. As soon as we got back to the mainland, my wife Sarah is a huge Danhausen fan. She was like excited as hell watching the Elimination Chamber last night, just in excitement knowing that her favorite guy is now in the WWE. So I'm happy for Danhausen. I hope he does good. I hope he makes a good living there. So, and here's to you being successful.
And real quick, if I can just kind of, because I know it's such a unique character, for anybody that's not seen him before, can we just kind of lay the foundation of an explanation of why the teeth and why the cursing? Because WWE didn't really lay a foundation for him, right? And a lot of fans are saying, here comes a guy dressed up like a magician with a cape, and he's cursing people, and he's laying a jar of teeth down at Michael Cole's desk. It's confusing, right? So what would you guys, how would you explain that to just like a brand new fan? Like, give him a little 101 origin.
You want to give that explanation, Will?
You probably know more about it, so I think you'd probably be better to explain.
He's kind of got more of a demonic character to him, kind of like an in between of demonic and a vampire. And so that's why you see all the cursing and all that. He also likes to joke that you should never like curse as in like swear or curse around him, or he'll put a curse on you. The teeth part is a little different. I'm not sure where that fetish came from. I kind of got a little more just into his comedy, to be honest. So, but yeah, if there's anybody that would be willing to give us a little more on the teeth part in our comments, or just put put it in our DM without a Spotify link or vote for you on Spotify co-host link in our DMs.
Yep.
Or even in the comments that you'll see in the Fans of Pro Wrestling or my WFI pod pages. This is airing.
The only legend I heard about the teeth was he, in his logic, his crazy logic, he believes that that is a legal foreign object that he's allowed to use in the ring, because teeth are allowed in your mouth, and there's a loophole that says, well, there's nothing saying that you're allowed teeth in the ring, and nothing says that it can't be anybody else's teeth.
And
So,
honestly, I think now I'm kind of briefly remembering some things.
Yep. And that's via Jim Cornette's podcast. I heard that on. So.
Yeah, I think also it's partly he was a demonic dentist at one point too.
Okay. So he worked for Dr. Isaac Yankem, I believe, right?
Probably something like that. Sorry. And, when Bryan asked me questions like that, my mind go blank. I'm like, oh, crap, what do I say? It's like your stage fright when you're like singing a song and then you forgot the words and you're like, oh, shit. That's kind of the moment I had at the moment because I wasn't quite ready for that question. But I believe, if I remember right, and don't kill me if this is wrong, I just remember reading it online that I think part of it is he was like a demonic dentist or something, or a former dentist, and that's what happened is he was collecting all these teeth, and he likes to use teeth quite a bit.
See, I didn't hear the dentist part, so that fills it in for me too.
Yeah.
See, the WWE could have used vignettes to piece this together for all of us,
Well, and when you have Michael Cole go, what the hell is that?
Right.
And let's make this comparison, because this is where I think AEW did a better job with Danhausen's debut there, is they knew who Danhausen was, and they were able to brief the fans a little bit on his character. And this is where I think WWE did a poor job, because when you got Michael Cole going, what the hell was that? Who was that? It's like, I hate this, how AEW is better than WWE and vice versa. That is one thing I think AEW did a little better, just because, at least Danhausen has some experience being in Ring of Honor back when Sinclair Broadcasting owned him. But yeah, it's interesting to see that how WWE debuted him, and I think they could have done a slightly better job, as you mentioned, Bryan. And let's just hope it gets a little better for him going down the road here as his career progresses with them. Just kind of going to take a small little break to do some announcements here. Again, we appreciate each and every one of you tuned in. We are live on the X app under my account, the WFI pod, and also the Fans of Pro Wrestling Network, which I don't have listed here, but it's under my picture frame there, or my video frame, whichever you want to call it. And we're also on our YouTube channel at Wrestling Fans Incite. Be sure to go subscribe, get the notifications on YouTube if that's where you prefer to see us. But also make sure you go follow my 2 X accounts there. Also, you can follow the other 2 guys here on X. William
at William B8.
and Bryan
at the Bryan Atkins on the X app.
And also be sure to check out and participate in our X community, the Fans of Pro Wrestling. All you got to do is check out under the Fans of Pro Wrestling Network, FOPW Network, or my account at WFI Pod in the Spotlight section. Looks like we temporarily lost Will, and I'm going to give the disclaimer. We're having some technical difficulties today. Bryan's also warned me we may possibly lose him too every once in a while, so just be patient with us on this recording today, folks. Also, be sure to go join us on the X Space with Carlos. He does a cross promotion with the Fans of Pro Wrestling and also the Wrestle Collective. Be sure to check out them on the X at DubC Worldwide, DUBC Worldwide. But Carlos also does the X Spaces for Raw Reactions with Carlos, which is Monday nights after Raw, and I will be joining him as a co-host tomorrow night with on the X space. So, hey, if you want to come talk some wrestling with us, come on over. You can follow Carlos at C to the LOS 77 or at Conquer the No. And also be sure to follow Bryan's YouTube channel, Bryan.
At Tap Out Talk on YouTube.
And also, you just recently done an episode, right, Ryan?
So I just been doing a lot of shorts on Tap Out Talk. I've been doing shorts on TikTok as well. So I do a couple, things on Royal Rumble, stuff like that. But I've been having a lot of fun with the shorts, just engaging content. I think my latest one was a little Tupac. Dang it. Little America's Most Wanted Tupac mix up. So
nice.
Nothing but a gangsta party.
And we also have a group chat on the X for the fans of pro wrestling. Get with me, Carlos or Bryan, on how to join. Real simple. Just don't be a toxic IWC stan. We'll let you in. Just be nice. That's all. And also, this coming Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I will be joining at GC Billy from the Wager Wire group. We are going to be getting into some old school wrestling, possibly some modern day wrestling too. It'll be interesting. It's an open mic. If you feel like coming and talking some old school wrestling or just want to listen in, go follow him on the X app at GC Billy for more details. Again, we'll be on the X space Saturday, this coming Saturday, March 7th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Hopefully we'll get Bryan in there too. So, but anyways, wow, that was quite a bit to talk about. And we still got a couple more topics, but let's get into it and try to go for the finish off here. Excuse me, folks. The WWE Elimination Chamber event was last night, as an obvious thing since we were talking about Danhausen for a bit. It was quite the interesting night. We started off with the women's chamber match. Rhea Ripley ends up becoming the new #1 contender for Jade Cargill's WWE Undisputed Women's Championship. So we know who's going to take on there. We also have a new WWE Women's Intercontinental Champion. AJ Lee dethrones Becky Lynch. CM Punk retains the WWE World Heavyweight Championship over Finn Balor. And, excuse me, we also had Randy Orton scoring the upset win over Cody Rhodes with some shenanigans. Oh, I'm sorry, Bryan. Can you take over for a sec? Sorry.
Yep. So Randy Orton getting the lead and getting his ticket stamped to WrestleMania to go against Drew McIntyre for now, but they have announced that Drew McIntyre is ordered to defend the title this Friday on SmackDown against Cody Rhodes due to all the fallout of the chamber that just occurred this past Saturday night. So we are going to see that in the road to WrestleMania. So ultimately that was the Elimination Chamber fallout and kind of, what we looked at. I really seen here that the WWE really played their biggest, strongest cards with all their main players. And what that really tells me is with Rhea Ripley, AJ Lee, Randy Orton, a very safe pick for a main event of WrestleMania. And what that tells me is with them winning an Elimination Chamber, that tells me the WWE is not relying so much on their WrestleMania build as they are their star power to build and sell these tickets, because we do know there are reported low numbers of ticket sales right now for Vegas Part 2 continuing from last year. And it tells me WWE is a little scared of that. So now they decided to double down, so to speak, to look at actually going with their brightest stars to hopefully their star power can sell the tickets. I do find that interesting because now we do have a little time with Mania being later this year than usual. And so I do see the WWE having a lot of story time and weeks to build, but I do wonder how they're going to build that coming out. But what stuck out to you, John, most, and Will, in that?
Why don't we go ahead and let's go with Will on his thoughts from the results and as we're progressing.
All righty. As far as the women's elimination chamber match, everything went extremely well. That was an enjoyable match. I did figure that Rhea was going to take the win, but I do want to throw special shout out to Kiana James. That was her first real big event on the main, and it was pretty nice to actually see a little more focus on her. As far as the AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch match, kind of the thumper of the night for me. It just seemed like it was really rusty. It wasn't a horrible match. I just don't know that it was really necessary other than the title switch. With CM Punk obviously retaining, that was a really, really well done match between those two. You guys know who exactly I'm going to be picking to win at WrestleMania, but it was a really, really good match. I liked it. It's going to lead on to a little more, who's in, who's out, just how much pressure is going to be put on CM Punk over the next few weeks. And then the men's chamber match, I believe I predicted it was going to be Randy Orton the last time we talked about it. That was also extremely well done. Overall, I'd probably say solid 4.5 stars.
Yeah.
All right.
To your point, I do like that they went with Randy. It was the easy answer would have been go to Cody, right? That would have been too easy. So adding Randy in there, and there's still a way to kind of dangle Cody around. And I think we could see a multi-man matchup possibly, right? So they can still flirt with that idea. We don't have to be obvious by just throwing Cody in. And Cody's still the face of this company right now. So, we don't need to make it obvious by him winning Rumble multiple years in a row and then him winning Chamber. So I really got to applaud the WWE for that by not just taking the easy way. And they threw a lot of misdirection in there by having Randy also take it. So I got to, agree. I do like that aspect of it.
And, that's where I was going to go with my thoughts there, Brian. First off, I thought the women's elimination chamber, I don't care what anybody says, there might have been a mistake or two. I thought it was the flawless match of the night, to be honest. All 6 women performed great, as well mentioned. Kiana James, who really did remarkable in her first big PLE event for the WWE. Very big kudos and clap to her. I thought Asuka, Alexa, I thought all the women really did a fantastic job. I in some ways think they may have went just too much the safe route with going with Rhea. Again, to your point, Brian, we need to get this star-studded because ticket sales are low for Mania. Well, okay, that's what happens when you jack the price up and try to bankrupt your fan base. It's you're not going to sell anything if you jack it too high. So something's got to give there eventually. Hint, 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 hint. But no, the women's chamber match, flawless. I gave that, may not be a perfect 10, but definitely up there in the 9 range for me. As Will mentioned, the Intercontinental Championship match, it didn't bother me. May have been just a little too gimmicky on the booking. I think eventually we are going to see Becky versus Jessica Carr at some point. A lot of people are calling for it for WrestleMania. Maybe just a little too short for that. I'm kind of hoping that would be more of a backlash event, but we'll see what it leads up to. Because I'm sure Becky's going to eventually get a rematch with AJ Lee for that championship. I don't know if I would necessarily want to see AJ Lee hand it back to Becky, though, because she would now be a 3-time Intercontinental Champion right away. Who knows? We never know what's going to happen, especially with the booking today. CM Punk, Finn Balor, great match. I didn't think they were going to have Finn Balor really change the main event for WrestleMania. I think we were always going to see Roman and CM Punk for this championship. However, I know William, who he's rooting for. Honestly, I don't have a preference who would win this. I just hope it's a good storytelling match, to be honest. But for me, the men's chamber match kind of fell flat. For the most part, although I was happy with the fact that we did see something where WWE didn't really go the safe route, having Randy get the upset win over Cody. It paints a different picture, but as we saw the interference with Seth Rollins costing Logan Paul, and then we see Drew McIntyre come and attack Cody from behind. I'm with you on that, Brian. I think we're going to end up seeing a triple threat at WrestleMania for the WWE Undisputed Championship. I think we're going to see Drew versus Cody versus Randy Orton. And this is maybe where we see some kind of turn of events with Cody and Randy Orton's relationship, character-wise, obviously. So with that going forward, that was quite a bit, but it changes quite a bit. And we're going to move on to kind of, in a way, the road to WrestleMania update. But Brian, did you have any more thoughts going off what Will and I have provided?
No, I think you guys are bringing up great points, and I like, the take you had on the triple threat at Mania. I wouldn't be surprised to see that also be in a very sneaky way for Drew to sneak out of Mania with the title, they say hook or crook. I think it could be an easy crook. I know the WWE likes Drew. They appreciate the work that Drew did with CM Punk. And I think they felt bad about the COVID years that they kind of, he kind of got the shaft when he got a world title that year, that 2020 year. So I think this would be a way for him to get a solid win at a Mania in front of a crowd, but yet over two great stars in Cody and Randy, but yet not lose a title. So.
Hey, all right. Well, going on. Now we're kind of getting into our road to WrestleMania update as we kind of mixed that tie-in with the Elimination Chamber results. As again, right now, TBD for the WWE Undisputed Championship. As Brian mentioned earlier, Nick Aldis made it official. Sorry, I'm Pierce. It's official now. Cody Rhodes will challenge Drew McIntyre for the WWE Undisputed Championship. I see this somehow being a double DQ or no contest, which will lead to that triple threat main event. CM Punk will now be defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Roman Reigns. We're also going to see Rhea Ripley, Big Mommy, challenge Jade Cargill for the WWE Women's Championship, and Liv Morgan taking on Stephanie Vaquer for the WWE Women's World Championship. That's so weird to say. Got the WWE Women's Championship and WWE Women's World Championship. Kind of a good way to confuse the casual fan base if they haven't been watching. But as far as that goes, we know our four big matches so far going into the play. With Finn Balor now having a second straight loss to CM Punk and failing to capture the World Heavyweight Championship, I think the IWC is looking to see kind of I guess you can say what's the word I'm looking for? Revenge from Finn Balor with Dom Mysterio is regarding the Intercontinental Championship. What say you, Brian? You think that match might be possible?
Yeah, I do agree with you. And that might be a good time for the return of the Demon. I think we could see that at Mania. That's about right. It's been packed away for a while, and that might be a good opponent with Dom Mysterio to bring out Demon Balor. And let's get Demon Balor a win, so let's actually let him get a win on this main card. I know he's taken some losses to Edge at Mania, I believe, and then I think he's taken some losses to Roman at Extreme Rules. So it would be nice to see him get a win on a bigger card against an opponent like Dom.
Yeah, and as far as maybe seeing other matches being hopeful, any other particular match you would love to see this year's WrestleMania?
Yeah, I actually have quite a few things that I think will happen. I do I do think that we will get a Seth Logan Paul matchup, but not one-on-one. I do believe that'll end up being a tag team matchup. Seth coming back from injury, I think they're going to be a little careful with him. And I could see Logan Paul in a tag team match. I could see Bad Bunny coming back. I don't know why. I just feel like that makes sense. So maybe Bad Bunny teaming up with Seth Rollins and then Logan Paul with one member of the Vision. You know, take your pick, right? Maybe it's Austin Theory. Maybe that's the one that takes the pin. But ultimately, I could see, you know, that being a special attraction match. And then WrestleMania overall, this road to WrestleMania, we mentioned those ticket prices. They're going to get desperate here, and they're going to try to, you know, they've already had Brock Lesnar out there. He's going to have a match, right? We heard the Oba chants already. I personally would like to see Gunther or Oba take him on, right? But either one has to beat Brock. One of them does. So, you know, I don't see Brock being able to win, but they've actually already started selling the road to WrestleMania, and they've actually had Paul Heyman out there to sell all of the dates that he's going to be appearing, right? So that's, again, WWE trying to generate revenue. Make sure you go out and see Brock Lesnar. He's only going to be at these events, which, you know, I didn't really care for because it felt like just an advertisement promo, right? And Brock, you know, when they were out there, but it was them trying to say, hey, we got to boost sales. I also feel that we're going to get a little bit, remember on Monday, March 16th, okay, that's going to be 3/16, right? So that's going to fall on 3/16. Great time to make an appearance from a WWE legend, if you know what I mean. I could see that as an announcement of him being tied into WrestleMania. Doesn't mean a match, right? But it could mean a special guest referee. He's been known to referee a Brock Lesnar match. Maybe that match is too big. That open challenge is too big and it needs a special enforcer. We could see things like that to try to boost these ticket sales and get things going. So I see a lot of that happening in this road to WrestleMania. And I think those are some of the things that, you know, the little bag of tricks the WWE likes to pull out. So.
And I kind of want to mention that special guest referee who's managed to referee a Brock Lesnar match. Brock Lesnar's 0-1 for that so far. So,
yep, very
not,
true.
Not to give away something, but no, I like that, Brian. William, let's go to you.
I don't really have a whole lot about this. I'm just kind of sitting back, waiting to see what they choose to do.
He's strapped in. He's in the back seat. He's strapped in the WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, wake me when we get there. Can we stop at Burger King on the way?
No Burger King.
Oh, no, that's our sponsor. You got to say it. So.
Well, Brian, I'm along the lines with you. I would definitely love to see Oba or Gunther maybe be the challenger to Brock Lesnar. One thing I do want to talk about is the way you pointed out that these are the dates Brock Lesnar is going to be appearing here at the WWE, which I think that in a way is kind of an insult to some of the talent that they have on hand, because it's like, oh, well, these are the dates you should come. And it's like, well, no, we should be encouraging people to come to every event. But, you know, when you keep jacking up those ticket prices, when you make it hard, but two, you know, if I was a talent backstage, I'd be kind of somewhat bothered by it. But again, I'm not trying to give a bad IWC or toxic IWC take, but if I was a talent and that's how it came across, I'm like, okay, what's my worth to the company if that's how it's going to be played?
Yeah.
But
one name I don't want to see as that open challenge is Joe Hendry. I do not want to see him versus Brock Lesnar. Even though I loved it last year with Randy Orton, I don't want to see him walking down that aisle versus Brock Lesnar.
Well, and I kind of want to point something out about that too. If you kind of watched that match at WrestleMania last year, it was interesting to see the size difference just between Randy Orton and Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry's not exactly a small dude. I mean, he's a pretty buff guy, but Randy Orton was like the Hulk compared to Joe Hendry. He was big. And if you try to throw Joe Hendry at Brock Lesnar, if you saw the size difference where Randy looked way bigger than Joe Hendry, just imagine what the size of Brock Lesnar would make Joe Hendry look like.
Yep.
So to your point, Brian, I think that would be a really bad mistake to make if they try to go that route. But you never know. Anything can happen in WWE. I would love to see Finn Balor challenge Dominic Mysterio for the WWE Intercontinental Championship, get his revenge for Dom Steele and that win last year from Finn Balor. I also would love to see kind of the tag team divisions have their respective tag team championship matches. I don't know, though, how Io Sky and Rhea would be able to defend the women's tag team championship unless they somehow drop it in between now and then. But yeah, we've got a few things that could possibly play up. But if you really want to see how things are going to get to the WrestleMania, though, I would say be sure to make sure you're watching Raw and SmackDown pretty much every week for the next. I want to say, what is it? We're still 48 days away.
It's 6 weeks.
Yeah. So these next 5 weeks will be the telling story of what will come to the card, and hopefully they do some great jobs with the storytelling here. So, any other before we call it good for the night, let's go ahead and get into our final thoughts and shout outs. And why don't we start with William? Let's get his closing thoughts here.
Really just looking forward to this WrestleMania season. As always, I hope that they build it up. I think that they've done a pretty good job with it thus far. As far as my shout outs, it's always going to be to those who listen to us. Thank you.
All right, Brian.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it very simple too. Thank you, everyone that listens. Thank you, everyone that follows. Thank you, everyone that interacts. I try my best to interact back. I'm not the best at it lately, but I will try my best. And I'm going to try not to laugh when John gives his shout outs because he's going to say names of podcasts and I'm going to think it's something else. But give him the pickle, John. Go ahead.
Oh, Jesus, Brian. Way to get me going already. Before I close out, I just again want to make sure I throw out some things out there. Again, I will be co-hosting with Carlos tomorrow night on his X Space Raw Reactions with Carlos. Be sure to go follow at DUBC Worldwide or at C to the LOS 77 or at Conquer the No, as he will advertise that space at some point tomorrow night just before Raw goes off the air. Also, I'm going to be making an appearance. Whoops, I got the wrong thing here. Sorry, folks. I will be making an appearance on the Wager Wire X Space this coming Saturday night, March 7th, with Wager Wire member at GC Billy to talk some old school wrestling. Come join us at 8 p.m. Eastern time out on March 7th. We'll hopefully talk a little bit of modern day wrestling too, as how some of the old school wrestling is tied into today's wrestling and made it really cool again. Final thoughts again, just remember things happen. Mistakes are going to be made. Mishaps always going to be there. Don't be a shit to the talent out there. They're doing their best. They're trying to perform and keep you entertained every day. Also, be patient. WrestleMania is still 6 weeks away. It kind of sucks because, there's really nothing big up until that point. But hey, at least we still got hockey and basketball, I guess, and baseball starting up. So, but yeah, keep tuned to the product because, again, if you miss just even one day, you missed a lot. And I believe AEW will also have their Revolution pay-per-view coming up here in a couple of weeks, I believe. So be sure to be checking out Dynamite on Wednesdays, Collision on Saturdays. You'll see a lot going on. Also, be sure to check out Ring of Honor on Thursdays, I believe, on the Honor Club app. And I'm going to get into my shout outs, and hopefully Bryan won't giggle like a little schoolgirl on some of these. But first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to the Sage Up Network out there. Thank you guys for always giving us a listen and checking out our stuff. Few of my podcast friends at Fan in the Van, at Two Dudes Sports News, Steel and Teal Talk, Average Joe Sports, in a pickle pod, Bryan.
In a pickle, not give him the pickle.
No, in
Okay.
a pickle pod.
Okay.
1420 Sports Bar Podcast, Nate's Daily Wager. Visit Vegas Places with Coyle, Brutally Honest Sports. Oh, sorry, I had my nose running now. I'm having technical difficulties on a physical level, folks. Not so much on the technical like my brother and Bryan there, but also want to give a shout out again to the Wager Wire family. They're always being very supportive, liking and retweeting our stuff. But also want to give a shout out to the DWE community, Miami the Great, Final Boss Lady, EVP CJ. Shout out to Chair Shot Sports Media, John Anthony, Big Mike, always doing some great stuff there. And also our partners in crime, the Wrestle Collective. Lots of great stuff from Carlos, Hannibal, Slick, Jordan Flair, Jay Herberside. And I believe Carlos also does some stuff with Dev as the Queen of the Roads there. I believe it's every third or fourth Sunday of the month. So be sure to go check out their stuff on the YouTube as well. But anyways, now that I said a mouthful, we're going to call it good. We still managed to keep it on the 1 hour mark. Holy Moses. But anyways, peace out, everybody. Enjoy wrestling, and we will catch you next week.